one when you know that the boss is getting the microphone shipped from home. So we wanted to just full transparency, like it's this is a huge one because the I think decentralized governments we've announced, of course, since the token has been live, and the first two proposals went live with were passed with an incredible engagement rate. But this one we wanted to what can I say, organize like a dedicated live stream because it's important for the overall direction and future and trajectory of the node economy, right? It's of course the previous ones were instrumental, but I would say this one is the most important yet. We're probably going to say that again in the future, but I would say to date, this is the one that required the most amount of work. So we wanted to do a dedicated session. So here today, I'm stoked to be joined by Sheena, Mukun, and Naman. This will be more of a free-flowing session, I'd say. So essentially, of course, we have points that we want to cover, such as the mechanics of the PIP-04, and of course, some of the motivations and why now, and just provide additional context. But that said, I haven't said anything about PIP-4, but Naman, why don't you start by telling us, essentially, providing a quick intro and why is it so important for everyone involved in the NodeUps network?
Awesome. Thank you, Eric, once again. I won't take too much of the time in introducing stuff. This time, let's get to action in terms of what this is all going to be about. When we designed the tokenomics for Node, one of the important aspect was to make it, as adaptable as possible with the market condition to have it optimally controlled across the board, right? And one of the core parameters which was introduced there was that ratio R, which is revenue focused, which is burn focused, and we now call it like a mint ratio framework in general, right? I'll get into the details of it along with Mukund and all of you guys, but at a very high level, PIP-4 is finally going to introduce the fee module, which is like a fee switch in general, which focuses on actually taking care of revenue split, meaning whatever fees has been generated by the protocol, following the standard of half of it getting burned as per the first version of the economics. And the mint cycle that would be followed would eventually be more focused towards introducing this mint ratio framework, which is again formula driven already on the tokenomics page, which you can go and play around. Like I think we are the first one to make a live simulator for you to actually understand how the economics work. And that's what PIP-4 is all going to be about, where you introduce the mint ratio framework as well as turn on the fee switch module, which would take care of burning half of the revenue or half of the fees collected by the protocol. And the ratio that we're going to set is officially going to make Node as the deflationary asset overall. And we actually are probably going to be the first one um, to take that decision, like the quickest in the industry within the first 2 quarters of the launch, where the entire mint would be tied to revenue, where of course as the revenue grows, burn would eventually grow as well, and there's lesser mints in general as part of our framework overall. So we'll get into that details as well. The proposal is officially out on forum for people to come in, contributors to come in and cast their discussions, weigh in, and definitely make all the contributions to make this like one of the tightly coupled framework to introduce like a sustainable economic incentive for Node in general. And that's going to be the focus for us. Like I'll take a pause here, and like Mukund would also deep dive into it. But yeah, back to you, Eric.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. And I've just put here the show. So essentially, anyone who is now tuning in for the session and you're NodeUps network contributor, node holder, participant, let's just say you like NodeUps and you interact with the protocol, you can make your voice heard. The the thing I'd like to say is just ensure that you read through all the content, right? If you have any questions on top of, unless we do address in the session, do reach out to us because we may understand, like completely understood that it's of course there's a plethora of content that's coming that will be addressing what is the ratio, why now, and yeah, just exploring all the different angles. But we are here for you, right? So if you think that you can't really make your voice heard because you're not understanding an aspect or a facet or a detail about the PIP in question, just do reach out, right? So it's important to be informed before making important decisions, and this one is an important one. Of course, as Nama mentioned, it is open for the next 7 days, so this is not a rush that you have like an hour to vote, but it's important to once you do understand, because if you do understand correctly, then you're able to, of course, spread the word and speak to other network participants, because we do need as many people as possible to be part of the conversation, because that's the whole point of an effective decentralized governance framework. As you were speaking, I would say, Mukun, as Naman, you were speaking, sorry, something I wanted to ask you is that maybe one way to picture this and explain it in a pretty relatable manner is that everyone knows the first burn event that we did, right? Which was a couple months back, huge, equivalent to 3% of the token supply. Would you say that this proposal sets in motion an automatic process to have mini burn events going forward, so people can expect essentially like mini versions of what happened 2 months ago to occur autonomously on a weekly cadence going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. The way we've automated the entire process, there are a couple of things that we're going to execute. First of all, there would be like a completely transparent dashboard for everyone to understand what are the current parameters, what are the current supply, how much was the mint, how much was the burn, weekly changes, and definitely keep on communicating this via our official accounts as well across the board. And the way it's going to be set is every week we would anyway it's integrated on DeFi Llama and Dune already, but we'll still calculate the revenue or the fees collected in the 7 days tenure, calculate it out and just automate the entire process where you would see the transactions from revenue to burn, revenue to all the other parts, and of course the mint parameter coming in. The initial value that we're going to set for this mint ratio framework is zero point 0.2. Mukund is going to break it down in terms of how anyone can understand in simple terms. But the last burn event was more focused towards making sure that we're able to show like a tiny teaser of how Node is definitely going to be deflationary in nature. At the initial stage, it's pretty important for you to adapt to how the market evolves, right? And this is why we're taking this decision right now to finally introduce this mint ratio framework to further facilitate the protocol's growth in general, right? So you'd see every week going forward, you would have, yeah, the updated numbers and with respect to supply going down, revenue growing for sure. That's going to be the goal for us, and everything tying back and accruing value to revenue and token holders as much as possible.
Right. I think everyone understands revenue as a term, and everyone understands that revenue is probably translation with appreciation of whatever products or services they Notice actually provides, right? So, Mukund, now for you, the hard task to essentially explain how revenue is brought in, right, and factored in, and essentially will contribute to the long-term value accrual, right, for the node token slash economy.
Right. So I guess the simplest way would be to just take an example. Like everyone knows that we offer like myriad solutions, multiple projects out there, many products that are all collecting fees, earning revenue for us as we keep moving along in our process. So what we're going to do is just start pulling in weekly revenue and weekly fees from all of these protocols that we have launched, and slowly just start burning and minting as per the mint ratio that we just described. So if we were to take, let's say, $1,000. Let's say we got $1,000 worth of revenue and fees together. Okay. Now I'll burn half of it. So $500 goes straight to the burn pool. As you can always see, it will be visible on the dashboard as well. And with the remaining amount, we're going to start with a calculation of our, let's say, at 0.2. So the amount minted will be burnt amount times 0.2. So just 0.2 times 500, which is going to be 1/5 or about $100. And this is something you can verify every single week because the burn transaction is there, the mint transaction is there, it's all visible. Just do the math and you'll figure it out.
Awesome, easy. And so, considering that you were the architect, I would say, of this entire framework, right? And also Naman, to bring in the NodeOps philosophy, which is to always sort of focus on ourselves and not look at the market and how things evolve, which is very hard, I would say, right? Because it's a market and sector that moves at 100 miles per hour, so it's easy, I think, to get sidetracked and lost in whatever the narrative is. How are you able to A, set up, and B, have it to work in such a way that the framework in question works in a way that has the interest of the network at heart first, right? And it's not maybe responsive to swings in the market or general, direction and stuff like that. Like, how is, what I mean, this a reassurance for the network participants or node holders going forward?
Okay, one of the first important thing to understand here is NodeOps as a protocol is not like a layer one where you have like a delegated proof of stake kind of architecture or involvement of validators as such. This is more, the chain agnostic EVM right now protocol where the intention is to make everything verifiable on chain, be it in terms of orders, be it in terms of fees generated, revenue generated, or even in terms of like whatever products we launch, everything ties to an on-chain contract when deployed on the protocol itself, right? So we eventually would be building out some more products and services that would accrue fees as part of the business, right? As part of the revenue, right? And the intention would be to, of course, if the revenue collected is in USD, the intention would be to buy back and burn, where whatever dollar value we are generated in form of revenue, we buy back depending on how the market conditions looks like and the long-term treasury goals that we have, and make sure that we still stick to this formula to abide by how dynamic it in nature it is. If we see sudden movements, if there are certain KPIs that we're going to set, already have set internally in terms of network growth, revenue growth. If we're meeting certain thresholds, then how we can propose and help everyone understand, there is some more changes been needed. This is all going to be going through governance. So it's not anyone else but the community controlling, how this entire ratio would look like, so that we do not end up hyperinflating or, of course, going like hyper deflating in nature where everything just drops down. Like, intention would be to maintain an equilibrium, but just don't do that half and half logic which you've seen in like a lot of protocols, right? I personally believe you need to understand that, make it more like an advanced credit system of sort, right? Where that the future growth of revenue is subject to so and so products when coming in and so clients when locked in, which are going to sign like multi-million deals with you for next 12 months. So you already have a revenue forecast in place. And that would be the intention for us, that if we know the revenue coming in, we need to make sure that at the end, the token holders win and the token eventually win in the market with respect to showcasing the revenue multiples. Right now, in the compute sector, in the entire industry, like we one of those least in terms of revenue multiples when it comes to market cap and FDV. And of course, if you're entering into deflationary nature, it's more important for community to understand the dynamics of it. It's not just random burn events. It's just not like a monthly TWAP and then burning and stuff. It's more of weekly adaptive in nature, and that's something that's gonna be like easily simulated by anyone on our website. You just go to nodeops.network/tokenomics. You'll find calculators right there in terms of how the ratio works, how the revenue works, how much would be bought, how much would be minted, assuming certain parameters, which is token price, which is revenue, duration, what is the ratio right now as part of the governance. All of it is like very much customized. So from long-term perspective, the goal is going to be to introduce more services in this entire infrastructure stack that we're building, which keeps on accruing fees, which in turns gives a much bigger revenue scale for NodeOps overall, and we scale it from here. Like I think it's third year for NodeOps now, and like I said in our 2 years note, year one was more about proof of concept, year two was more about proof of build, and now it's going to be proof of scale. And when we say scale, it's going to be scaling up the services that can definitely bring in more revenue and products when launched by the contributors of the protocol. So yeah, that's the intention overall, to make sure that at the end token holders and the token wins adapting with the protocol.
Brilliant, brilliant answer. And yeah, I mean, I could take so many different side quests and to dive deeper into what you said, but I want to stick to the script, right, and the matter at hand. Mukund, last question for you on this aspect, right, because you of course are the architect behind this, and it seems so obvious that we're at the start of a long journey, right, and we're just setting the car ready, let's just say, to ensure that we don't have to stop for gas, right? Because you could almost say that it's almost on like an infinite highway that is like electrical powered. You have like an electrical vehicle, you don't have to stop for gas, but you have to ensure that, sorry, I just came up with it on the spot, but ensure that the vehicle works properly, right? And my question for you is, have you maybe picture yourself as, because I know you're an avid Web3 user, have you set it up in such a way that going forward, we have fully autonomous, automated weekly burn events, and of course, dashboards going live that as the weeks go by and we accrue and accumulate more burn events, you have a richer track record that will attract more node holders, right? Because essentially, like the people who are already a holder now, they're one way or another red pilled. But do you think that as we accrue more burn events, aka more revenue coming and recognition for our products and services, people are actually able to see in practice and in action how the token actually comes to life, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a straight up reflection of what we had promised earlier, right? We're showing you value accrual, we're showing you how the token stays strong as time goes on. And as we keep burning more and more tokens every single week, you will see the net supply delta as well, just changing as we keep moving forward. And the revenue numbers are all visible for you as well. So more revenue, more burn, slightly less mint, and it keeps on going. So you can connect the dots yourself.
Definitely. And I mean, it also takes guts to be doing this by a team, right? Because like inevitably, you throughout a year you have 52 weeks. There are peaks and troughs in terms of activity. So like the burn events will mirror and reflect that. And I think it's kudos to the team to show everything, right? Both what's good, what's like. I think the interpretation of what's good or bad would be at the eyes of the beholder, right? Like us as a
Yeah.
team, we just show you, and then you make your decision and you draw your assumptions. So I think that's awesome, right? Sheena, maybe this for you. Like, what's your overall take on this? And considering that you have a huge A role and B key position because you've been here since day zero, essentially, right? And so I want to ask you, how do you think that this is an important milestone for essentially what's to come, right? So value accrual, long-term sustainability, scarcity, so the deflationary start for the token. Yeah, your overall take would be great.
Sure. Thank you so much. And glad that we're doing this today. The moment we have gone live with the proposal, this makes a lot of sense to talk at this stage. So I'll just go a little, like, I think people know my trend of talking now. I like to always go a step back. So if you would recall, during the time when we had a TGE, we went really loud explaining what the tokenomics was. It was all theoretical, everything was on paper that time. And this is essentially that whatever was theoretically communicated across, it's now time to actually show that it was not mere a paper documentation, but more into execution. Step two, when we are talking about now, if you see that this whole mechanics that Naman and Mukund explained, in fact, I have a question for both of you because that's going to be more helpful for explaining the community more in depth. But continuing to what I was mentioning, if you see, we went live with all the dashboards across various platforms, be it Dune, be it DeFi Llama, be it like a couple of forums which have their own way of analyzing, verifying, vetting, and then putting the numbers. So if you see, all this while we have been very particular about that, and if anyone just picks up these numbers are constant, and then there is a proper way that you can yourself also validate. Having done that, once we had laid down the whole foundation for this, we are now live to go with the PIP-4. And essentially, like, what I read this across, or what I understand this now, this is very, very, crucial and super important for NodeOps as a whole project, because what we are doing is we are trying to make the entire node economy more simple, more stronger, and more sustainable. So if you per se see, it's not like a technical or a very high difficult proposal to understand, but it is primarily a shift that is strengthening the entire uh, appreciation, brand positioning, and validating the long term sustainability of the NodeOps network. So, from just moving from a good token model, we have actually moved to a predictable something, which is very structured, it's automated. There is nothing that, there won't be any human intervention or manual. So, like Naman was mentioning, and I really want Naman, if you could just, deep dive more a bit into that. Like typically we have seen the burns and mints that are happening at a particular month, so there is no particular way of doing it. It's very random. But over here what we have done is we have ensured that there's a live dashboard that comes on the website. You would be seeing this across the platforms, exchanges, be it CMC, be it CoinGecko, everywhere throughout, you can actually witness this as it's happening, to ensure that what we have been communicating, or when we came out saying that, our tokenomics are very different and there is something new that we are bringing to this economy here, we will be validating that. So before I move forward into this, Naman, I really want you to, kind of little take a step back and just simplify and break down the reason for the weekly burns and having it like the dashboard. Just let's try to help the community get a visualization of how things would be moving ahead.
Yeah, sure. So what you've seen so far, there are like very selective protocols in the industry that you can take the benchmark as the golden standard, right? And we've seen that in DeFi happening very easily because the revenue there is pretty straightforward. From transaction fees, you take a fees cut, or from like whatever yields has been generated, you take a fee cut. So it's pretty like clear for everyone in terms of, okay, if the TVL is this, if the liquidity volumes are these, like exactly how much revenue comes in, right? But when it comes to infrastructure, that's a different game. And I'm talking more from AI, from DeepN, from all the protocols that are focused on providing infrastructure as a service, one way or the other. There's like a lot of volatility in terms of the growth of the protocol, right? Because there is one reason to it, that the services that you're offering, the business that you're doing, might be varying based on what the customers demand, right? Here, there are no traders. Here, there is no community. From business point of view, they're all customers for you. They're all users for you, right? So it depends on how you're integrating, and it depends on how the overall like business grows in general, right? And when you look at that, I think the source of revenue had always been a question in terms of verifiability, right? And that's why you've seen like there's very limited data availability in terms of deepin protocols generating revenue. What's the source of it? Like, how is it coming in? How is it verified? And that creates like a lot of challenges as such in terms of bringing that credibility out there for the protocol overall, and making sure that the sentiment remains towards the positive side, right? We never wanted to get into all of those. Like, we've been like super clear, presenting literally the financial sheet every year in terms of how we performed, just like we do for our investors, because I believe it's important to make sure that people get to know the real side of it. And when protocol goes on chain, like, you also have token as a product night now, which needs to be adapting to the market conditions, but also needs to bring in the value accrual via business has been done, via revenue been generated, right? And it cannot be monthly, it cannot be quarterly, it cannot be randomly. It needs to be structured in a way that you're able to automate it to an extent that people, yeah, get to know everything right there, and we keep on transparently showcasing this to institutions, to liquidity providers, to our investors, and also to now all the token holders easily, right? So that they have all the data available, and that's why like we're one of those rare protocols from compute side that have already integrated with DeFi Llama easily. Like within 24 hours, I think they integrated us. So the reason for that was like everything was verifiable right there. Yes, we're not generating like $100 million worth of revenue, but even the smallest number matters to us a lot, and we're going to grow up from here because like the node of 3.0, which is going to be the year 3, we would have like good amount of services been coming in, like a lot of products already in the shape right now to be announced. But yeah, we're gonna slowly and steadily get all of them out of stealth mode. And yeah, like we'll keep on making sure that all these fees is available and accrued back to token in general in an automated manner where yeah, like as I said, every product, every service would, the revenue and the fees accrued would accrue, just go back to the token holders in general. And all of it been easily accessible to you on the dashboards, and team have been putting efforts to make it easy for everyone to understand, because I think people have seen either the inflationary model or the deflationary model in the economics. But when you're trying to maintain an equilibrium, you've seen like half and half split in general when it comes to burn and mint equilibrium. I think we're taking somewhat different approach, and I know it might be riskier, it might be scary for sure, but I think it's better to just let community decide on those aspects for sure. Our intention is to make sure that we look at the positives and we like look at the long term sustainability angle here by not just diluting stuff at all, not just inflating stuff at all, and like create that scarcity for token in general. That's eventually going to be helpful for a long run, because you know that cash flows are coming in. And like I keep on saying this, like cash flow is the king. Yeah, every time, there is no other metrics that can solve it, no matter how much you spend on KOL marketing, how much you spend on exchanges listings, how much you spend on incentives. Like it would all boil down to what cash flow you're generating from your protocol, from your business, which is now accrued in fees and revenue for Web3. So that's the standard that we're going to abide by. And that's the reason why it's now been executed in a manner so that people can understand it in a much more detailed aspect.
I have a follow-up question on that because I think the more I learn about it, of course, like I've been looking at it for a little while, but one thing is talking, one thing is actually sort of looking at it in detail, and we do a million things a day. But so now my focus is on this. But essentially, like a business is in place to provide value-adding solutions, depending whatever you are, like whether you're a carpenter or like a data infrastructure or like an infrastructure player such as ourselves. Like you essentially dedicate time to provide a service or product, right? That's what it boils down to. And if someone does appreciate how you do it and the way you do it, there's a monetary exchange. So revenue is how you keep the lights on. I think that's super important for everyone to understand. I think a lot of folks, I would say, I think it's become a norm in Web3 to hide behind useless complexity, which shouldn't be there, right? And I think more often than not is to, what can I say, hide vulnerabilities. But without name dropping, it's just the way what it is, right? I come from a finance background, and essentially, if you don't know your numbers, you shouldn't be, what can I say, you're not welcome in the room. Let's just put it that way, right? So all of this to say, do you think that having these weekly receipts, right, where we essentially we don't have to tell anyone how it's going, you just send a URL and they're able to have like a weekly track record of how the NodeUp's network actually performed? Do you think now, I actually want to ask this question to all three of you because we had a call earlier, shaping the direction of where we're heading. I won't say anything. It's mega exciting, but let's just say we're skating, right? You've said this yourself, Naman. Having this weekly receipts, this archive of receipts, do you think it'll help us on board also non-Web3 customers? So, for example, like Web2 users, there could be enterprises or could be like individual customers, because they won't necessarily have to understand what burn or mint actually means or whatever. They're able to just see, okay, Notice has been making X amount of revenue. The token has responded in such a way. That's all I care about. Let me make my evaluation and assessment accordingly, because I think that's mega important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think institutions and liquid funds, like, they look at cash flow and like how it's accruing value to the token. They never look at token is up by 30%, token is down by 20%. Like, that's never the metrics that like a serious long term liquidity provider or a holder or a liquid fund is going to look at. And like, you brought in a good idea. Actually, we should present this in a restaurant receipt format of sort every week, from our UI perspective or from our announcement perspective. That's a good thing to show in terms of net taxes as such that we generally see on those receipts, right? We can actually follow that format for announcements. But to answer your question, I think institutional players would be super keen to look at how the business is also growing, not just Bone, not just Mint, but what are the services that are going to be offered that is accruing these numbers in general, right? Because for them, it all boils down to, like, if you're a DeFi player, you'd always look at liquidity or TVL or volumes in general, right? But if you're an infrastructure player, like market share, the North Star completely changes, right? It's more about services that you're offering and how much market share you have in those, how much assets you're managing under your protocol in general, right? So, like, with the business growing, with the services growing, I think it's going to be tougher day by day for us to make sure that we're able to abide by the consistent revenue metrics. We saw a decline in Q4 for sure, and that's something that we, yeah, not taking just like a pinch of salt. We're gonna deep dive a bit, understand, and that's why you would see some new changes, some new things been launched very soon, which you hinted about. Um, that's eventually going to be a win-win for everyone involved. And at the end, for us, it's customers and users, right? We don't segregate them in terms of web 2 or web 3 at all. Intent would be to provide the services that actually solves the problem on day one, which we know exist and will take time to solve it. It's not just going to be like three days launch or 4 days launch at all. We're going to take time to make sure it's right, serving the right customers with like the right UX that they really crave for. At the end, it all boils down to experiences that you provide via your products, and that's what we're going to do next.
I'll just add a little bit because I think, Eric, you were also keen to understand or kind of put light around what happens when a Web 2 or someone who doesn't understand what typically a burn or a mint ratio, because these are not the typical terms. Like, you come from finance, I come from finance, are typical words that would be used in any kind of a financial health of a company. But over here, if you see, what we are also trying to do is we're also trying to map it. I'm going to use very simple words. So if there are any technical or thought leaders hearing this out, so excuse me if I'm putting it in a very layman language, but trying to, map the important things over here. So it's all linked to the economic layer of NodeOps as a whole ecosystem, right? And the moment it's a very simple basic law. The moment you show scarcity of something, there is definitely a rise in the value of that. And secondly, like, if like in a very simplified terms, how are we burning, or how are we, making this whole thing getting automated, is all getting linked to the revenue that the whole protocol is bringing in. So from that perspective, this is going to be very, very simple version for any Web 2 person when they're picking up your financial health, or they're trying to understand that, what did you do? So the moment they see that there is an appreciation, or then there is a strengthening of that economic layer, it's a direct, proportionate answer that yes, as a product what NodeOps is building, it is definitely generating that value. And value over here, I mean, is revenue. And revenue per se then implies that yes, they have some solid services, they have a solid user base, and that's not only just being very stagnant or at a same pace, but it is steeply going towards a sustained growth, which is definitely on the rise. So, these are other some more aspects that, this is kind of bringing a direct emphasis on. And like we all have already indicated, and in fact there's nothing to indicate also, all our products that we have been shipping week by week, we have been talking. And Eric, you know that you and I have also been involved, where we have actually gone to the end users, taken the feedback, and we can just see even before going through a full blown GTM strategies, we're getting good tractions. So I think from that perspective, even if like Naman said that, we might show a decline in revenue for Q4, but we also have something to showcase that there is a lot of more expansion which is there in the roadmap, which will be very soon. The curtains would be raised and everyone can actually understand that, where node ops was spending more time on.
Yeah, I think, what can I say? Like, it's you also have to take a time to reflect, right? I think Nodos has been fortunate in a way, which is of course a great fortune to be able, sorry, because it's not luck at all, to deploy and create and go to market with solutions that were immediately recognized and appreciated, and the numbers showed it, right, in the first 2 years. So that's not common, and I know you guys know that, right? Because more often than not, there's Nalan, you can testify to this. There's startups that spend years trying to find PMF, right? So, and that's not to say that we found it at all, but I think it's we've taken this time wisely, I would say, this past few weeks to actually take a breather and understand, where we want to go. Of course, everything that we've been doing, we'll keep doing. We're just at a turning point, sorry, to approach the next phase of evolution, right? So it's always growth, and it's never abandoning, like, what we did in the past. If anything, it's sort of like chapter after chapter of the same book, right? And the story is absolutely just starting to be written. And I think we're transparent across the board, right? And you have the Dune dashboard, the main one, which is transparent in terms of showcasing different kind of data, not pertinent to weekly burns and stuff. It's more revenue at a network level, B2B integrations, number of deployments, and number of compute providers across the board. Then we have the quarterly reports, right, in terms of where we actually do show how the quarter has gone, right? And now we'll have the weekly Dune dashboards, or the dashboard in general, right, for to show the burns. Do you think that the user will want to know, for example, maybe asking you this, Mukund, like they will want to know where, because how will the dashboard actually look like? Do you think it's best to this is just purely as as a user perspective, right, to show the revenue at a high level on that dashboard, and then to show at a more granular level of how, say, we were able to get, I'm just making this up, 100K for the month, you're able to go, console, da 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 da, and break it down? Or do you think that that should actually be visible everywhere the revenue is actually mentioned?
Everywhere.
I think
Those are
we already
but high
we,
impact.
yeah,
Simple.
we're already doing it.
Yeah.
So, and that's the reason why it's saying everywhere. You see DeFi Llama, you go to contracts, you'll see everything. You go to Dune, you'll see everything in general. But I think important aspect here would be, Mukund, in terms of like the dashboard itself would show you weekly growths and all those
Yeah, kind of like
aspects.
similar to like what we're doing on Dune, except maybe not that deep.
Yeah.
Just keeping it simple so people can understand, right? So
But
you'll see the
also
progress.
play around with it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to bring that calculator from our website on this
Yes.
dashboard as well,
Yeah.
so people have like a real time player arena of sort. And we'll definitely add it to the node insights.nodeops.network created by one of the contributors, so you can definitely have like a singular platform for all the insights with respect to node ops in general.
In fact, I think in the proposal, when the community is going through, so I mean, I'll break down the proposal also for those who haven't yet opened or plan to open it during the rest of the day. So you will see a section that there's a live dashboard, and all these below metrics would be clearly displayed on that dashboard. So you can just go play around with that. So I think there would be enough data and metrics available at hand. And like we all mentioned, just reiterating again, whatever the circulating supply, the updated numbers, everything would be easily available across the platforms. exchanges would be kept updated about it. So it would be a complete transparent dashboard, and that is again something I'm very proud about this, because while keeping all the basic principles of economics, we have also tried to focus highly on transparency, making it more trustworthy for everyone who believes in the in our project.
Couldn't agree more. And I think another key word here is community, right? Like in the sense that like no decision is made without the community having their say, essentially. You could almost look at it like the sort of parliament in old Greece or like in old Rome, like the Senate, right? Everyone comes and has a vote, right? Like if you're sort of like a citizen of of the node up city, you're eligible to come and make your voice heard, and now is the time to do that, right? Like you have now 7 days to discuss. At the end of the day, like we're not what can I say, absolute in our outputs. It's not like that everything we put out is like the ultimate truth, and nothing can be refined or further polished. Absolutely not. And the only way you're able to sort of reach a better iteration is through conversation, right, and open dialogue. So I think that to me at least is the definition of transparency, is being mature enough to be able to welcome feedback, right? So Naman, I don't know if you want to add something on that point, but do take these 7 days as an opportunity to, if you disagree, make your voice heard, you know what I mean, and start. But
So
do
I want
engage.
people to disagree on this.
Exactly.
Like,
I knew you were
I,
going to say that.
I want them. I think we're not experts in what we do, but yes, we have spent, which month is this? November. We've spent like 11 months simulating a lot of stuff, playing around with a lot
Yeah.
of theories there, what could work, what would not. I want people to disagree on this so that we're able to actually look at the other side in terms of what's the community's perspective as well. I really want them to like bring in some more simulations, some more like maths predictions as
Yeah,
such in terms
would
of
be helpful.
what they can do. We have our own simulation engine as well. Might as well share it out, but it would be interesting to see, what community comes up with, and we're going to make sure that this reaches out to all the best players in the game in terms of token economics design and all. I think we're great to have some amazing backers who have been like focused on transparency in general. I think L1D, one of our lead investors, like they've been working with a lot of players to bring in like that transparency dashboard for tokens. I'm sure we are not meeting that FDVs and market cap metrics right now to get on those dashboards, but we keep on sharing these with them to gather the inputs, and also we want people to come and we want people to contribute here. We've seen success with recent DeFi protocols going out with fee switches and fee modules in general. But I think, yeah, this would be like one of the first time I really want people to think about how this would come in from infra side of things and cast their inputs, cast their feedbacks. I think next 7 days, all of us are just going to be making sure that we send this out to everyone we know who are experts in the game, who can bring in their opinions on this. I just don't want people to like literally don't care about it and just say, yeah, fine, I agree with you, this is done. We want them to provide why they agree with it, and importantly, if they disagree, give us some constructive feedback so that we're able to like create the revised versions, more iterations of it, and make sure that we get like a win-win situation from everyone contributing it. So yeah, it's an important step, and like, I personally don't want it to just go in vain if there is no one disagreeing or no one caring about it. Like that's going to be a loss for us. We want people to care about it. We want people to disagree on that, uh, to look at the other side so that we're able to present our points. I know we've done efforts in drafting it out and presenting, but we want them to actually bring in like really, really valuable feedbacks after they look at the global macros and how the markets are going to turn out, and make sure that at the end there is only one winner, which is going to be token holders. It's not going to be us, it's not going to be them, it's going to be the holders in general. So we want people to disagree on this as much as possible.
They can try out the calculator as well. Just go ahead, plug in some
Yeah,
numbers, try it out, see what happens.
yeah,
I mean, you should be willing to do this, right? I mean, you're also holders.
yeah,
It's not like it's just for us.
yes.
Trina, anything to add? Because I mean, I couldn't agree more.
No, I think it's been very beautifully put, and yeah, and if the founder is saying that, go ahead and disagree and put in your comments. We are really excited to see what already comes up with. And yeah, we could have more of this session and have like a complete Q&A to take up every, even if somebody doesn't want to comment on the proposal but just leave some questions, they can do that, and more than happy to pick them up.
Absolutely. This random time we do a live stream, anytime you want, we get on a meet. Like I'm all in for that. We really wanna hear in any mode possible. Even a voice note would work, even a text would work, even a GPT would work if
Comment.
you have some thought process been written there. I'm okay with anything. Like make sure that we get all those info possible. If it requires for us to extend the discussion period, we'll do that. We want to make sure that this is done in a right manner. There is no intention to rush into it. That's why we took some time to finally think after everything been done for the first couple of months from token perspective.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And one key, what can I say, element throughout this whole journey would be education, right? Don't you think, in
Yeah,
terms of, because I know this for a fact. I know this will keep evolving, right? Because that's just the nature of being an infra enabler, right? And essentially just having also a crack team that is just constantly innovating, right? So that's also beauty of what we do, right? And which is why I love being part of this team. So how do you think that node holders should approach this in terms of having like a continuous, or maybe, okay, a better way of actually framing this? What do you think would be the most effective way to get the attention of the average user? Do you think that they will get just numbers? So, for example, your scenario, Mokun, that you presented, okay, if R is this, revenue is X, I get this, or do you think it's through I don't know, live streams where we do actual scenarios? Like, what do you think would be, like, from your perspective, if you were a member of another protocol and the holder of another token, how would you like to be educated in a way, right? Or that the core team of the protocol in question would go about communication for these kind of things?
And the simplest will always be to pick real world examples, right? Make a video, explain the whole working mechanism of it, explain what's going to happen, what kind of impacts you can expect, or how, in general, this whole mechanism is supposed to work. And after that, we don't give conclusions, we don't draw inferences. That's all up to you. We'll just show you how it works, what sort of impact it has, and then you draw your own conclusions. Just go ahead and try it out.
I think getting
Agreed.
that simulation out would be important.
Yeah.
We have the calculator, but I think we can try to
Yeah.
see.
We can give you like better data or
Yeah,
examples.
so we can make it like data driven
Hmm.
for anyone to try it out. But I think it won't be challenging for them to actually build it out as well now with all this vibe coding in place.
I mean, it's division.
Yeah. But no, when I say simulation and actual
Yeah.
like correlation with how the global macros are moving
No,
and
okay.
how we correlate with it to make sure that we adapt the dynamic nature of the market in general. That would be an interesting
Yeah,
one to
and if
see.
they find it difficult, we have our own vibe coding platform as well. We'll show you there. We'll
Yeah.
make a video, no problem.
It reminds me of my MBA classes where we were given a concept and then asked to frame our own case studies and try to find a solution. So there are a lot of
Absolutely.
things. Yeah.
No, it's true. And then don't you think that for this is all for all three of you, that as we'll have more, because this is just obvious from a math perspective, like a numbers perspective, right? The more burn events, the more data, and the more numbers to analyze potentially and stats, right? Do you think that people will be able to draw, like, to dig deeper to find what can I say, insights and takeaways that could potentially also inform our future decisions? So, for example, I don't know, I'm just making this up, right? NodeUp's network performed particularly well in Q3 because X, Y, and Z happened. So, as a result, in the future, when a similar macroeconomic event will occur, I can expect. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
numbers, like history, repeats itself, and like ours is a token, and of course there are thousands of tokens, but we are going about it in novel ways. So do you think that we're also exposing ourselves to such a turn of events in terms of people making informed decisions in such a way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think um, when when you look at data, I think researchers and analysts, they definitely look at like correlation metrics and the p by e values and everything in place, so that you're able to make sense. It's not just some flabbergasted numbers or some hypothetical figures assuming certain things. You have a historical revenue which is also available on contracts, and now you have a future revenue every week. So you can take the historical data, create a simulation engine. That's what we did overall before even launching the token. Create a simulation engine and then just keep on predicting certain things. And minute you feel like we're going in the other direction, forum is all open. You propose something, we'll immediately come back and try to incorporate the changes again to make sure that that's the reason why we call it optimally controlled, to respect the dynamic nature of the market and just make sure that we are not just going in the opposite directions ever.
Okay, Sheena, anything you add? Because I had one last question, and then
I
my
think
mind is
it's
spinning. My mind is spinning. Um, I would say that the current forum contributors and participants are in a way lucky, if you actually think about it, right? Because um, we have visibility over what we're doing, and if correctly executed, which will take the necessary time to ensure that it's done, will make the noise, which I think it will make, and as a result, everything we're doing and talking about will get more eyes, right? So it's just the natural consequence of scaling, right? You enter new conversations, you approach new audiences, you enter new rooms. The crowd just gets bigger, and the network as a result gets bigger. So having mechanisms in place and processes in place that are code-driven and autonomous and fully automated, sorry, ensures that it doesn't matter how many new rooms we enter. But all of this to say that the current forum participants, like, take this opportunity to hone your voice, right? Everything we're doing, learn, challenge us, you know what I mean? Don't argue, but let us know, of course, if you think we've taken a wrong decision. We're here, like, we're all rather reasonable and pragmatic individuals on the right day. Just let us know. But just, I think, taking this opportunity to essentially rise up, right, and educate others if there's a need. Like, you have a rare opportunity. Trust me, like, it won't make much sense to you now, but in 6 to 12 months it will, when the network will look what I think it will look like. So I don't know if you guys want to add anything on that, but yeah, we all, like, NodeUps is not us, right? Like, NodeUps is not Naman, it's not Sheena, it's not Mukun, it's not me. Of course you guys play a key role, but it's the reason what we're doing is to empower the average person, right? So if you hold Node, you can enter the conversation. So that's the beauty of it, and make your voice heard. So this is the first step. So I just wanted to say that. I don't know if you guys have anything to add, and then we can wrap it up.
I think it's very beautifully done and explained. But yeah, just reiterating all our DMs. We are very much approachable through X. People who are not having our Telegram handles can definitely drop comments. I mean, I myself last night just thought to launch a Did You Know series. So I'm going to keep pushing something or the other every now and then, which is just going to help you understand and simplify the terms. And yes, I mean, it's like it's written in the proposal also. It's like a big step towards establishing NodeOps as a benchmark for economic integrity in the Web3. So this is a big step. It's a milestone, and it's a community project. So the forum is open. Like Naman said, we are happy to extend if you want to take more time to understand. Anybody wants to have more sessions to understand this in deep dive, you want to just sit and simulate, everything is there. And then once done, we can always accordingly, we can take the next steps. I wouldn't say yes or no, the quorum is met or not. I'll just say accordingly, the next steps would be executed.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's it, team. You have 7 days TLDR, because we've spoken at length. 7 days to make your voice heard. Everything is explicitly laid out rather clearly. So read it. If you have any questions, let us know in DMs, as Sheena mentioned. If you have any, what can I say, constructive feedback or whatever, or comments, or you don't agree with a number or whatever, just comment in the link. Sorry, on the forum. You can expect now the official announcement. We'll be talking about this at length. So if you have any questions, just let us know. Thanks, Mugun. Thanks, Naman. Thanks, Sheena. This was very insightful. And yeah, until next week.